Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Lenox Justifier of Innocence. I'm here as a witch today, and Mr. Buddy is here as a bat. So we wanted to do something a little bit different this week in the spirit of Halloween. So thank you so much for clicking on this video, and for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for all of your patronage. We really appreciate you guys' support because it helps our channel grow. So if you can remember to please hit like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and that way we can continue to put out great content for you. For those of you who are new, welcome. This is a fantasy justice channel where superheroes and mythological gods unite in the fight to save humanity in order to restore the balance between good and evil. Most of the stories that we cover on this channel are based on true crime and real-world tragedies and events, though we do sometimes change the names of the people that were involved in order to protect our identities. In some cases, if they're very public figures, we keep it all the same, and we tell the backstory first and what happened during the events, and then the second part of the story we go into the fantasy justice part where Lenox and her team get justice for those who were wronged. So in today's story, we're going to be going through a spooky story. It's going to be based on a haunting, and I wrote this just for you guys for this week. It's a little bit different than what we normally do. I'm going to narrate the story and put the images online so you can watch, and you can also just listen to it like an audiobook, but if you watch the images, it will help your imagination flow throughout the story and make it a better experience for you. So we hope that you enjoy this week's content. Make sure you stay to the end. I'm going to go over what is coming up next in the series, and we will see you then. Enjoy the show.
It was the fall of 1985. The Evans family moved into a quaint old town in the outskirts of Philadelphia. The old town was steeped in history, dating back to early settlement of new Americans. Many stories were told of hauntings and spirits of the past in many of the older homes, but that just added to the town's quirky charm. A large Victorian home on the edge of town came up for sale. The Evans were drawn to its vintage charm and history, though they've heard whispers of it possibly being haunted. The legends about the house had circulated for years, with the townfolk as quirky as the town itself, saying no family ever lasted more than a few months before fleeing. The Evans chalked it up to nothing more than simple folklore, and that added to the home's appeal. The Evans began to settle into their home, painting some of the rooms, refurbishing old fireplaces, careful not to erase the home's original charm, but updating it to fit their tastes. Thinking that they'd escaped the supposed curse of the house, they started to settle in and feel comfortable. But then strange occurrences began. The doors creaked, opening on their own. Distant whispers and echoes would be heard throughout the empty hallways. Shadows moved against the walls as if they were alive. At night, the children, Kelly and Danny, complained of cold fingers brushing their skin and hearing voices calling out their names from the darkness. The parents dismissed these occurrences as old home drafts and overactive imagination. Until one evening, Kelly woke up in the middle of the night, screaming. Her parents rushed to her room. They found her standing on the bed, her eyes rolled back, mumbling gibberish they did not understand. Her skin was clammy, and her limbs moved in unnatural, jerky motions. She fell silent, her eyes fixed on her mother with a terrifying intensity. Her mother thinking it was a bad joke, with Halloween being just around the corner, and all the whispers from the neighbors. She told Kelly, "Great job on the prank in the morning," but it was time to go to bed. as she left the room, shutting the door behind her. This infuriated the demon. Over the next few days, more unexplained things happened throughout the house. Kelly's behavior became increasingly erratic. She'd wake in the middle of the night, her voice deep and inhuman, hissing, warning the family that they would suffer great pain. Objects would fly off the shelves around her, and the temperature in the room dropped to icy levels, even though it was in the 70s outside. Her brother Danny was the first to notice the bruises forming on her wrists and ankles, as if invisible hands or straps had been holding her down. Desperate, Danny pleaded with his parents to seek help.
Mom, Dad, you have to help her. She's not faking it. Something's wrong.
She's not faking it, he yelled. He shouted with desperation and fear in his voice. The parents gave in and contacted a local priest. He agreed to visit the house and perform a blessing. The moment he entered the home, the priest felt a heaviness in the air. A feeling of unease overtook him. But he pushed on, blessing each room with his sage and holy water, while reciting prayer. Until he entered Kelly's room. The priest staggered backwards, clutching his crucifix, his face pale as he choked on his words. There's something unholy in her, he stammered. Kelly's eyes, twisted and dark, peered at the priest, a malevolent grin on her face as she sensed his fear. The priest was sweaty, gasping for breath, saying he would return. The Evans followed him out to his vehicle. "Wait!" they shouted. The mother asking, "What is going on? Is this real?" Still in disbelief, in spite of witnessing the change in Kelly. The priest responding with his eyes wide. "Do you not know the history of this place? We thought it was folklore, mere superstitions." The priest responded, "Not all stories in town is true, but many are. It has a dark past, and we have tried to overcome and leave it in the past, but sometimes it resurfaces and comes back to claim what they think is theirs." This house was where the leader of them resided with his family. As the priest explained, the wind began to pick up. He looked around. "We don't have much time. If he takes hold of your daughter, he will use her to destroy all of you. He doesn't want you here." "I don't understand," said the mother. The priest looked at her and said, with a cold, stern face, "No family has ever stayed more than a couple days in this home before leaving all their belongings behind, in fear to never come back. He chose you. He chose your daughter to carry out the ritual." "The ritual? What are you talking about?" "There's no time to explain," the priest shouted as he drove off. "I will be back. I need help." He arranged for an exorcist to come to the house the next evening. But by then, the demon seemed to sense his time was running out. That night, Kelly's screams echoed through the house. Her family ran to her room, only to find her pinned to the ceiling, her eyes burning red, her mouth stretched into a horrifying grin. "You're too late," a voice hissed from Kelly's mouth. A deep, guttural growl came from Kelly. "She belongs to me now." A series of loud crashes filled the house, as lights shattered, mirrors cracked, and furniture hurled across the room by invisible hands. Danny pulled his parents towards the door, screaming for them to run. They barely made it to the front door when they turned back, yelling, "We can't leave her." Danny shouted back, "I will stay. Get help." As they stumbled outside, determined to get answers, they drove into town. There they sat into the town library, asking where they could get history on the home and the town. Their librarian eagerly helped them find the information they were looking for, specifically their home. Feelings of guilt overwhelmed them. The very thing that drew them to the town could be the very thing that took their daughter from them. They couldn't allow this to happen. Their faces pale as they scrolled through the archives. The town was settled back in the late 1600s as a safe haven for religious freedom. But a very evil man by the name of Edgar Hamilton manipulated and brainwashed the townspeople into joining his parish. Edgar was into dark magic, devil worship. He lured the most innocent, unsuspecting souls into his trap, using them as sacrificial offerings to his dark overlord in order to gain power and popularity amongst the townspeople. He established a cult, and his parishioners fell prey. Edgar and his henchmen continued to devour people throughout the years, trying to become immortal. For more than a decade, he got away with it. His congregation grew, and more innocent people disappeared. Rumblings of such a suspected dark cult spread throughout the neighboring towns. One day a reporter decided to expose Edgar and the cult and try to bring them down, and he was successful. But before they can take Edgar down, he committed the ultimate offering to his overlord, setting the town ablaze, and then taking his own life, with the promise of always instilling fear amongst the people of the town. He vowed to return back to life when he found the perfect host. Many homes didn't survive, burnt to the ground, but his home was salvaged, amongst a few others, including the parish. Kelly, the Evans said out loud as they raced back to the home in fear that they were too late. Just as they arrived, the house came to life. Terrible screams echoed from within, a sound neither human nor animal, as if the demon itself had been torturing Kelly from within. The Evans ran into the home to find Danny unconscious on the floor near Kelly's room door. "Where's that priest?" the dad yelled, calling him from his cell phone, while Mom tended to Danny. An ominous growl and laugh came from what no longer looked like Kelly. Her skin was grayish-green, her eyes black, her lips cracked, twisting and contorting her body as she crawled towards the mother. "He's not there anymore," the creature shouted with an accomplished, cynical grin on its face. Mom stared in disbelief, her fear so overpowering she couldn't move, she couldn't scream. When she heard, "Mom, help her," Danny's whisper snapped her out of it, as she lunged at the beast, demanding he let Kelly go. The priest finally arrived with backup. They tied Kelly to the bed, demanding he leave her body. All of them held her hands, and they held their own hands in prayer. The priest tied her to the bed, holding her hands and feet down, and then they all held hands in prayer, while the priest splashed Kelly with holy water. Burning her skin with each drop, you could hear the sizzle, but the creature laughed, seemingly enjoying the pain, feeding off of their fears. "Talk to her," the priest instructed the mother. "Tell her to fight." The mom, with tears in her eyes, began to plead with Kelly, reminding her of how much they loved her, and of her hopes and her dreams. The creature screamed, contorting itself, unable to break free of the binds that held him. Danny got up. They were always inseparable, best friends, fraternal twins, with an unbreakable bond. He wiped his tears. "Please, Kelly." He reached for her hand. The creature winced in pain as its tear fell on his skin. illuminating the body. They could see Kelly's face through it. "Don't leave me, Kelly," Danny pleaded with tears streaming at the sight of Kelly struggling. "I can't get out," she replied. The creature twisted and turned, contorting itself, the sizzling sound of the skin when both the holy water and Danny's tears touched it. Danny embraced the creature lovingly. His mom in fear went to pull him back. "Don't!" yelled the priest. The room was filled with the vile, pungent odor of rotting flesh. The house trembling, light bursting. Thunder roared as the skies lit up outside. The bed exploded just as they thought. Danny and Kelly were devoured by the beast. There they were in a loving embrace. Silence filled the room. "Take them out of the house," the priest instructed. They sealed off the room and ran out of the house. "Wait," the Evan said. "We can't leave it like this." The priest confused for a moment, until they seen Mr. Evans grab a gas can from the shed. They doused the house in gas, and then turned to Kelly and gave her the match. They walked away with the house ablaze behind them, crumbling into a pile of rubble. The Evans family never spoke of what happened that night, haunted forever by the knowledge that Kelly had nearly lost her soul to that demon, Edgar Hamilton. The land remained unoccupied for years to come. Sometimes late at night, townfolk claimed to see his ghostly figure in the remains of the old house, staring out from the ashes, his eyes still burning with rage, waiting for someone else to enter, to rebuild, so that he can claim them, fulfill his prophecy.
It's not over yet. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's story. We're going to do a little bit more of this around the holiday season as well. And, just create some stories that are a little bit more fun, that are based off of, they're still based off of things that are going on in the world, but a little bit more fantasy and a little bit more fun to take a break from all the true crime that's out there. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's story. As far as next week, we'll be resuming our regular programming. So we're going to continue on with the Diddy case and finding out where it all connects to. So that's what we're going to continue working on. So you have that to look forward to. I hope that you guys were able to take a look at some of the artwork that's going in the second book, and can give me a little bit of input as far as, which ones you think should make it into the book. So I look forward to your input. I hope you guys have a safe and happy Halloween. Please take care of yourselves, take care of your kids, and as always, God bless.